Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Multi-Voice Entertainment. I am the Multi-Voice Reviewer. I have many voices, but one opinion. And there's one thing I would like to say to everybody here. Happy 4th of July, everybody! Haha! Man, it feels good to celebrate a history. Celebrate a holiday. It pretty much showed our victory of our independence. Of course, in a historical way, it was supposed to be a battle between us and the British, who were the British Empire, who wanted to control us and make us be a part of their empire, but we fought for our independence and we won. Sadly, they got Canada back then. But anyway, that kind of makes me wonder, if we didn't win the Revolutionary War, if we didn't win the Revolutionary War, could America be more like Canada? Who knows? But anyway, for this 4th of July, I'm going to talk about a certain superhero who is also patriotic. But it's two superheroes in one. First off, a little history. A long time ago, there were two companies who have been rivals for a long time, did do a comic book series called DC vs. Marvel. And they've been battling against one another for so long. It was Superman versus the Incredible Hulk, Batman versus Captain America, and also Spider-Man versus Superboy, Wolverine against Batman. It was just all DC against Marvel. And there were a lot of crossovers between the two. There were some before, but this was the biggest event ever. And of course, Darkseid and Thanos first met for the first time. And then after the whole battle between the Marvel and the DC, it was all the Marvel heroes and villains against all the Marvel villains and heroes. Except it wasn't exactly all versus, to be precise, because most of the time it turned out that it was... At first they did battle against one another, but now they both understood one another and kind of figured and understood exactly what they represent. Like, Batman would get along with Captain America because he knows how patriotic he is. And, of course, there was that one thing I remember in the comics where the Joker, my favorite DC villain, he met Red Skull, and he kind of liked his methods, but here was one thing. Turns out that Red Skull was a Nazi. A fascist Nazi. And that was one thing the Joker had to put a standstill on that one. He didn't like what Red Skull did, and this is what the Joker says. I might be a lunatic, but I'm an American lunatic. And it becomes a huge fight between the Joker and Red Skull. But all that aside, they decided to create a temporary company who goes by the name of Amalgam Comic. Now, what is the Amalgam Comic is when they took all the DC superheroes and all the Marvel superheroes and they combined them into one issue. Like, they combined Batman with Wolverine, and here you have Red Skull. They combined Wonder Woman and Storm, and therefore you have Amazon. And they also combined Spider-Man and Superboy, and therefore you have Spider-Boy. But right now I'm going to be reviewing a combined superhero, and here's one thing I'm going to ask you is this. Superman combined with Captain America. You pretty much have Super Soldier. So let's dig into Super Soldier Episode 1, Issue number 1, and see how can the combined power of the Man of Steel and the Super Soldier can handle in this kind of situation. One thing I gotta say on the cover was pretty good is that you see Super Soldier going one-on-one with a giant robot with the Nazi symbol on his a swastika on his chest. And of course, how the background goes, it turns out that it's not Clark Kent, but it was actually Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers was an alien from planet Krypton who is a weakling, but also have who pretty much have the same weakness as a human being. Until the soldiers decided to do a super soldier serum on him, and when they did, it made him become a super soldier. So unlike having the same ability like Captain America, he has the same ability like Superman. He's indestructible. He's bulletproof. He has heat vision, and he can fly. And Jimmy Olsen, the reporter from the Daily Planet, had found, and there's young Jimmy Olsen right here. He found him and took some pictures and made him very popular. And during World War II, Jimmy Olsen took pictures of his battles during World War II, while Steve Rogers is, of course, Super Soldier. Until the final area in the war, he was battling against a sinister robot who goes by the name of Ultra Metallo. Now, for those of you who don't know who Ultra Metallo is, well, Metallo combined with Ultron. And for that, you get Ultra Metallo. Now, Ultra Metallo was battling against Super Soldier during World War II. Metallo was flying all the way to America, but they're in the middle of the North Arctic. So, Captain America struck the final blow and fell into the Arctic waters, and therefore Jimmy Olsen thought that the Super Soldier drowned in the Arctic. But years later, after the war, now in the modern era, there's a group of Hydra fan who is Hydra fans. God, I hate Hydra. They're a lot worse than Nazis. Anyway, they're torturing Jimmy Olsen, and Jimmy Olsen is an old man. And it turns out that they found the Super Soldier's body. Turns out he didn't die in the Arctic, he was frozen, and now he wakes up out of the ice. And this villain, he starts torturing Jimmy Olsen and asking him what happened, what's going on. And it turns out that whoever was behind Hydra was none other than Green Skull. Now, for those of you who don't know who Green Skull is, he is actually Lex Luthor combined with Red Skull. Anyway, Jimmy finally showed up to the Daily Planet, and of course there's Steve Rogers, going by the name Clark Kent. So in this universe he's called Clark Kent, even though he has blonde hair like Captain America. Anyway, they found old man Jimmy Olsen all beaten up and tortured like he's been through hell. And he was telling Clark Kent that the Super Soldier needs to come back because the battle's not over. So it looks like this is a job for Super Soldier. So he removes his shirt, reviewing himself as Super Soldier, and he flies out in the Daily Planet. And then, bam, here was Ultra Metallo. I mean, actually, he was just remembering the past during the battle against Ultra Metallo. He flies over Washington, D.C., figuring out where the threat is coming until he finally heard some of the Hydra members talking, so he crashes into their lair, battling a couple of their Hydra troops, and there was Green Skull, and he decided to do a little blast from the past by summoning Ultra Metallo himself. So, Ultra Metallo went one-on-one against Super Soldier, and then, they were roughhousing themselves in the middle of the street. And then when Super Soldier get a big punch right in the middle of Ultra Metallo's chest and opened up his chest, there was kryptonite. So now it's weakening him. It was really weakening him from the kryptonite until he found a metal pipe. Now, Green Skull was smiling, thinking that he won, and he's about ready to let Ultra Metallo go to Washington. But of course, Super Soldier stopped him by knocking him out next to the to where the statue of Abe Lincoln is at, and that green kryptonite on Ultra Metallo's chest is weakening him the most. Now, he tried to use the shield, but it wasn't working, so he has to fly away to figure out how to stop him. And all the Secret Service agents starts firing their guns. At Ultra Metallo, but it's not working. Until all of a sudden a metal pipe went right through Metallo's chest, blocking the kryptonite. And of course, Superman picked up the metal pipe where the kryptonite was at, and he tossed it into the sky. Lex Luthor's going like, "No!" And then Super Soldier flew all the way to the lair where Green Skull was at. Green Skull was about ready to flip the switch to annihilate himself and the rest of the Hydra, but he just threw the pipe through the floor, stopping him. And now Super Soldier grabbed Lex Luthor, Green Skull, and now the next headlines, Luthor exposed. So now Lex Luthor went to prison. And of course, Jimmy Olsen thanks Steve Rogers for a good scoop and everything. But sometimes I always get confused between Clark Kent or Steve Rogers. But anyway, he thinks, everybody thinks it's all over, but it's not over because Hydra is still around. And even though they don't have Luthor, there still might be some other Hydra members out there who still wants to take over America and try to stop Super Soldier. This comic is pretty dang good. I don't care what you guys say. This is a pretty interesting comic. And it makes a lot of sense to me because if you ever think about it, Superman is patriotic. Because, I remember in the old 1950s Superman series starring George Reeve. Of course, it was during the time when we were battling against the Russians and during the Cold War. In the old Superman cartoon, it was Superman fights a never-ending battle for truth and justice. Until on the live-action TV series with George Reeve, they added truth, justice, and the American way. Now, of course, I always remember in the comics, Superman is patriotic, but he's also a Boy Scout to the government because he's too much of a goody Boy Scout that he'll do whatever whoever's in charge of the White House. While Captain America, on the other hand, he's a patriotic superhero in the old-fashioned World War II patriotic way. He goes by the old-fashioned patriotic way, unlike how America is today. And, you know, that's how I am. I mean, I'm patriotic. I mean, I always see a lot of hope in America, despite of all the negativities I hear from everybody who always kept saying that they are ashamed to be in America and they're not proud to be an American. And they just think that they don't want to make America great. And I just don't like that. I mean, it's just not right. When not many people know that there are foreign people out there who would love to give their right arm to be an American because they believe what America stood for. It's just, there's some people who are just too arrogant to understand it. And that's why I always like to celebrate the 4th of July for our ancestors who fought for our country and everything that America stood for. Well, this is my review for the day, and if you like this review, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe, and next review, I'm going to review what if Superman was Batman. I mean, I know I should have reviewed it back then, but I just couldn't keep track on the days and such, so now I got it right this time. So stay tuned for my next review, Superman Speeding Bullets. I'm the multi-voice reviewer. I remember so I can jog in memory.